Okay, so in the last class, I have given you this particular numerical to solve. I don't know whether you have solved this or not. If you are facing any kind of difficulty, you may ask the problem. Now we are moving forward for the next scheduling algorithm, that is round robin scheduling algorithm. In shortest job remaining time first, or in the shortest job first, we can say, suppose your system is equipped with so many different type of processes, and processes are coming again and again. So many processes are there. So in your system, all the processes whose running time will be less, those will be running simultaneously. But those who are having the more execution time will get aborted after some time, because we will not consider them because of their execution time. That we will say that this particular task is having so much execution time, that's why we are not considering this. We are considering only the smaller task. So in that way, your process will not be executed for the longer duration of time. Now in the round robin scheduling algorithm, we are giving every process the same weightage. We are fixing some amount of time, let's say 10 millisecond, or let it be 100 millisecond. Then we will assign this 100 millisecond to every process, one after another. We will give them time, whatever they will take, they can take in that quantum time. That particular fixed time interval what we are giving to each of the processes is known as time quantum or time slice. Each process gets a small unit of CPU time, time quantum Q. Time quantum will be given to you in the starting, usually 10, 100 milliseconds. After this time has elapsed, the process is preempted and added to the end of the ready queue. Suppose some process is running, that process wants 100 milliseconds of time, but the time quantum is 10 milliseconds only. Then after 10 milliseconds, that process will be removed from the CPU, and 90 units of time, that is that process whatever is remaining, will be executed later on. So first we are removing it and we are pushing it into the ready queue. If there are n different processes in the ready queue and the time quantum is q, then each process gets 1 upon n of the CPU time in chunks, that we will discuss how. Let's check the numerical first. Suppose there are three different processes, P1, P2 and P3. There is no arrival time, so all have arrived at the same time, that is time 0. Order of arrival is same, P1, P2 and P3. Their burst time, or we can say the execution time, are 24, 3 and 3. So here we are discussing the same with the time quantum 4. Now the time quantum is 4. So we are giving 4 units of time for every process. Then we will change the process with the new process. Okay. Now first process is P1. So to P1 we are giving 4 units of time because quantum is 4. Then we are executing this P2. P2 requires only 3 units of time, but the quantum time is 4. Let it be. It can execute its execution time or the maximum quantum time, not more than the quantum. So it will execute 4 to 7 only. After 7, it will be terminated. So 4 units of time is not required here. Here again, we will introduce this P3 after 7, 7 to 10. At 10, it will also be completed. Then Again, P1 we will can pick P1 for 4 units of time, then again P1 for 4 units of time until P1 completes its 24 units of execution time. So in this way, we are going to manage the different aspects, different scheduling algorithms. Now I'm changing something here. I'm just copying this thing. And now I'm changing some values here. I'm changing it to, let's say, 15. I'm changing some values here like this. 15, 4, 15, 1 second. P1, let's say 16, P2, 5, P3, 6. Now let the quantum is 4. Round robin quantum equal to 4. Let the quantum is 4. Now we are going to schedule it. For scheduling, we require the Gantt chart. For Gantt chart, I am using this table. Let's say I'm making this table. So in this starting, which process is going to be run? I'm again maintaining another table. Not required. That is okay. Now, which process will run first? Obviously P1. P1 we will execute. Let me change the color also. Okay, P1. So what time it will be? 0. Finishing time of P1 will be finishing time of, let me copy this content. Now the finishing time of this will be 4. P1 will start from 0. P1 will end up with 4 because the quantum of this round robin scheduling is 4. Now after P1, P1 will be removed. So which process will be coming next? That is P2. P2 will start from 4. When P2 will be ending up at 9? No, at 8. Because the time quantum is 4. Here it will end up at 8. So now how much time P1 is remaining? 12. That you should be having in your mind. How much time P2 is left? Only 1. Now P3 will be executing. P3. Till what time P3 will be executing? Can anyone tell me? 12. P3 is executing till 12 because it cannot run more than 4 units of time. So now it is remaining 2. It has already executed 4. Now after this P3, again P1 will come. We are moving in the sequence. P1 is again coming. Until what time P1 will be running? P1 will be running till 16. Again 4 units of time. Now how much time P1 is remaining? 8. Now again P2 will be running. For what time P2 will be running? 20? No, because P2 is only required this 1 unit of time. That's why P2 will be running, sorry, P2 will be running till 17th only. P2 is running till 17th only because P2 requires only 1 unit of time now. Now P2 has completed its execution. Executed. Now it's turn of P3. Till what time P3 is going to run? 19. Only 2 units of time because it will require only 2 units of time for execution. It can run up to maximum 4 units of time. Suppose now it is completely executed. I am changing some scenario. If let's say it was not 6, it was 9 in the beginning. So after execution, it will be remaining 5. It will be remaining 5. Then the next step, when P3 will be running, 17 to 21 it will run. And again it will be requiring 1 unit of time because already 8 units of time has completed for P3. 4 here, and 4 units of time here. Now 1 is required now. So again, after P3, it cannot run more than the allotted time, that is a quantum one. After P3, again P1 will be coming. Till what time P1 will run? Till what time P1 will be running? 25. Now 25, what it is required? Only 4. After P1, P2 will not come because P2 has already executed. Now P3 will be coming. How much time P3 will take? Only 1 unit of time is required for P3. That is 26. At 26, P3 will be finishing. Now P3 we can say executed. Now again P4 turn will be there. P4 will be here. How much time P4 requires? 4 units of time. That's why it will finish at 30. It will take 4 units of time again. At this time, P1 will be executed. Now you can check the total time. 16 plus 5 plus 9. That is 30. In 30 time, all the processes must be completed. Is it true? Yes. In 30 time, all the processes has been completed. Now, in this way, every process is having the same priority as the others. You are not doing this that P2 is taking so much less time with respect to SGF. So we are completing P2 first, then we are completing P3, then we are completing P1. In that way, P1 have to wait so much time. P1 has to wait so much time. Now in this way, no process is waiting. All the processes are running. We are changing their jobs from the CPU. First P1 is running, then P2 is running, then P3 is running, again P1 is running, again P2 is running, and this kind of situation will be there until unless process will be completing its execution. Round robin scheduling is very genuine, and it will take minimum amount of time that is required for switching. But in this way, our context switching time will be more, because you are shifting some processes from CPU and you are introducing a new process to the CPU again and again. In between this switching, you are removing this P1 and you are introducing this P2. You have to save the current state of P1 and you have to load the previous state where P2 has completed. So in this way, you will be having some time delay in removing it and introducing a new process. That is known as the context switching time that we have already discussed earlier. Now, here, can anyone tell me the turnaround times and waiting time for every process? Here I am writing the turnaround time, that is TAT, waiting time. WT I'm writing. Now turnaround time for process P1. All the processes are coming at time 0 when process P1 is completing finish time minus arrival time. Here I have written P4, that is not P4, that is P1. So completion time of P1 will be 30. 30 minus arrival time, that is 0 for every process. So 30 is the turnaround time for P1. What is the turnaround time for P2 when P2 is finishing? 17. Turnaround time for P3, that is 26. So these are the turnaround times for the three processes. Now waiting time. Waiting time you can calculate directly. Turnaround time minus burst time. 30 minus 16, that is 14, is the waiting time for P1. 17 minus 5, 12 is the waiting time for P2. 26 minus 9, 17 is the waiting time for P3. So these are the waiting times. Now you can calculate the average of turnaround time and average of the waiting times. In this way, all the processes are having similar kind of waiting times, whether it is having lesser execution time or it is having the greater amount of execution time. All the processes are nearly having the same kind of waiting times. So here we can check if your process time is 10 and your quantum time is 12, in a single span you can complete your process and there will be no context switches. Context switch means how many number of times you are switching your process and you are introducing a new one. So if the quantum time is greater than the process time, in a single stretch your process can execute. If your process time is 10 and your quantum is 6, so first you will be executing the 6, then you will be executing the next 4. So at least one context switch will be required. If your quantum time is 1 and the process time is 10, so you will be required so many context switches. Here 9. 9 context switches minimum will be required to complete this kind of process. So if you are your quantum is less, that means your context switches will be more. Now, priority scheduling. A priority number is associated with each process. The CPU is allocated to the process with the highest priority, usually smallest integer equal to highest priority. This is of two types, preemptive and non-preemptive. So it is the last kind of scheduling algorithm that we are going to discuss. Example of priority scheduling. Here we are given the processes, the different processes, the execution times of the processes, and the priority associated with each of the process. Which process is having the highest priority? 1. Which is having the lowest priority? That is a 5. Lesser the number, higher will be the priority. So P2 is topmost of our priority and least priority is of P4 because it is 5. So if you are not going through this priority scheduling, I asked you to schedule this according to SJF, shortest job first. Which process you are going to take first? Obviously P2, then you will take P4, then you will take P3, you will take P5, and then in the last you will take P1 in the SGF, shortest fashion. In FCFS, how you are going to manage? According to the arrival. First you are taking P1, then P2, then P3, then P4, then P5. In round robin, what you are doing? First you are managing this one for particular quantum time, then you will be managing this, then this, then 4, then 5, then again you are repeating P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. You will be repeating all the processes again and again. But in the priority scheduling, first we are discussing the non-preemptive one where breakups are not required, no breakup will be there. Once the process is coming, it will be completing only when the process is completed its execution. Now first priority P2 is having, so we will be running the P2 first. How much time it will take? Only 1 unit of time. We are managing it. Then second priority is of P5. We are managing P5. How much time it will take? 5. 1 to 6 it will complete. Then our next priority is which one? P1. P1 we will execute how much time? 10 units of time it will take. 6 to 16. Then it is completed. Now 4 number. P3. It will take 2 units of time. P3 it will take 2 units of time, 16 to 18. Then the last one, fifth priority. P4 is having only 1. P4 is having only 18 to 19. Now all the processes are completing at 19. When you will be adding all these times, then it should be 19. 10, 11 to 13, 14 and 5, 19. In 19 units of time, all the processes must be completed. Now they are completing. Turnaround time for P1 is 16. P2 is 1, P3 18, P4 19, P5 6. Similarly, you can calculate the waiting times, turnaround time minus the burst times of the processes, and you will get to know the waiting time. In that way, you can calculate the average waiting time by adding all the waiting times divided by 5. That is the number of processes. So, one second, guys. Now again, we are having another problem. Run the process with the highest priority, processes with the same priority, run round robin. Now let us take an example. Again, 5 processes are there, burst times are there, priorities are there. Some processes are having the same priority. So what you should do? First, you will be executing the priority 1 for 7 units of time. That is okay. Then, in which order they are arriving, P2 and then P3, you will take the same order. First, you will be execute the P2. How much time? You can say you can run with the round robin also. Here you are managing with the round robin. For 2 quantum, you are managing this P2. Then P3 you are managing for 2 units of time. Then for again 2 units of time, you will be managing P2. Then again 2 units of time, P. So you will be managing P2 and P3 again and again until those are completed. Then you will be taking P1 and P3 with the same priority. Again, you will be managing with the same type of concept. P1 for 2 units, P5 for 2 units. P1 for 2 units, P5 for 2 units. If you can do like this, priority scheduling with round robin. But generally what you can do, you can run the first one with the FCFS concept, complete. You can take the 5 units of time for P2, you can take the 8 units of time for P3 at a stretch. That will be good for you. So other things we'll be discussing in the next class. Next class we will be having some more problems for all those types of scheduling what we have discussed earlier. Then we will be binding up this concept for CPU scheduling.